Commander Rise brushed a strand of dark hair from her face as the antimatter reading stabilized. The probe's telemetry streamed across her holographic display, each data point confirming what many had thought impossible. Humanity had compressed centuries of theoretical physics into decades of practical application. Transmission integrity at 97%, announced Dr. Vikram Singh, his fingers dancing across his console. We're getting clear readings from beyond the Kuiper Belt. This changes everything, Commander. Rise nodded, allowing herself a small smile. Send the data to the international consortium and prepare a statement for the public feeds. People deserve to know how much closer we are to the stars. Undetected by Earth's sensors, 3 distinct observation platforms tracked the antimatter probe's progress. Each represented a power that had mastered interstellar travel when humans were still perfecting agriculture. In the crystalline halls of the Celeran Confederation's monitoring outpost, senior observer Lintar composed his report with growing concern. The statistical models were clear and deeply troubling. The human technological progression curve demonstrates a deviation of 43.7% from all established patterns, he noted, forwarding his findings to the High Council. Their innovation acceleration suggests a fundamental difference in cognitive processing. The Voth Dominion took a more direct approach. Their observation nest, concealed within Saturn's rings, dispatched specialized drones to collect atmospheric samples from Earth's major cities. Hive Commander Verthax integrated the data through her neural filaments, experiencing humanity's development firsthand. They compete, she communicated to the birthing queen, not just against external threats, but amongst themselves. Their advancements emerge from internal opposition rather than consensus. This pattern is disruptive. Meanwhile, the cybernetic emissaries of the Medusan Collective processed petabytes of intercepted human communications, building predictive models of humanity's likely development arcs. Probability of humans achieving effective interstellar travel within 73 years, 89.3%. Calculated archive node 5527. Probability of humans discovering our observation network within 41 years, 62.8%. Recommended action: implementation of Containment Protocol 17 Alpha. On Earth, Commander Rise remained unaware of the alien deliberations her work had triggered. As she left the control center after 20 straight hours, she paused to look at the night sky. Jupiter gleamed in the distance, a small reminder of how vast the universe was, and how humanity had only taken its first tentative steps beyond their planetary cradle. "What's out there waiting for us?" she whispered. In the sealed chamber of the Galactic Confederation's emergency session, the question had already been answered. The Celeran representative's crystalline form shimmered with agitation as he addressed his counterparts. The pattern is unmistakable. Humans don't develop like rational species. They leap forward in chaotic bursts. They embrace risk. They pursue multiple contradictory technological paths simultaneously. The Voth representatives' neural filaments pulsed. Their social organization should have collapsed centuries ago according to all stability metrics. Instead, they thrive on disagreement. The Medusan delegate, a hovering sphere of intricate machinery, projected its conclusion to the gathered representatives. Humanity represents an unpredictable variable in our galactic equilibrium. The prudent course is clear: isolation and containment until they can be properly integrated. The vote was unanimous. Earth would remain quarantined, its inhabitants unaware of the greater galactic community watching them with growing unease. Little did they realize that humans had never responded well to barriers, and in their efforts to contain humanity, they had inadvertently created the very conditions that would accelerate humanity's most disruptive characteristic: the relentless drive to discover what lies beyond the next horizon. Dr. Chen's laboratory became the epicenter of humanity's greatest paradigm shift. Government officials swarmed the facility while the 3 alien representatives waited with inhuman patience. The Celeran's crystalline form refracted light across the room. The Voth's neural filaments twitched in response to unseen stimuli. The Medusan's mechanical body hummed with calculations. "You were watching us," Chen said, breaking the silence. "For how long?" The Acceleran representative, who had introduced himself as Observer First Class Tezkel, tilted his crystalline head. "Your species has been under standard observation protocols since you harnessed nuclear energy. This is normal procedure." "Normal for whom?" Chen asked. United Nations Secretary-General Imani Okafor arrived 6 hours later, escorted by a security detail that looked woefully inadequate beside the visitors. Her composed demeanor betrayed nothing of the emergency sessions and global panic unfolding beyond the laboratory's walls. "I understand," she said after introductions, "that our scientific experiment disrupted your surveillance network. An impossibility that has nonetheless occurred," the Medusan representative responded, its voice emerging from a translational device that converted mechanical impulses to sound waves. "Your quantum tunneling technology operates on principles our models indicated were beyond your current developmental stage." Maya Okafor, the Secretary General's daughter and a senior intelligence analyst, reviewed the translated alien communications from a secure facility in Nairobi. Something in their phrasing kept triggering her analytical instincts. "They keep referencing developmental stages and parameters," she told her team. "It's like they have a playbook for civilization advancement, and we're not following it." She highlighted passages from the Voth communication logs. Species 3472 demonstrates atypical advancement patterns. Recommend immediate intervention to prevent destabilization. "They're not afraid of our technology," Maya realized. "They're afraid of our unpredictability." Meanwhile, in Geneva, Secretary General Okafor listened as the aliens outlined humanity's options. The Acceleran representative's tone remained neutral, but the message was clear. Humanity would be guided into the galactic community according to established protocols. "Your species will benefit from our oversight," Tezcal explained. "We will provide appropriate technological advances at suitable intervals. Your colonial expansion will be directed toward compatible star systems. Your cultural and economic development will be harmonized with galactic standards." President Volkov, joining via secure holographic link, exchanged a glance with Okafor. Both recognized the condescension beneath the diplomatic language. "And if we prefer to develop at our own pace?" Volkov asked. The three aliens exhibited their first signs of genuine surprise. The Acceleran's crystalline structure briefly clouded, the Voth's neural filaments stiffened, and the Medusan's mechanical body emitted an audible recalibration click. "That would be inadvisable," the Voth representative finally responded. "Independent development leads to instability. The protocols exist for the benefit of all species." Dr. Chen, observing from the side, noticed something the politicians missed. Behind the aliens' composed exteriors, he glimpsed something unexpected: uncertainty. These beings, representatives of civilizations that spanned the stars, were genuinely unsure how to handle humanity's response. "We appreciate your concern," Secretary General Okafor said carefully, "but Earth has its own protocols as well. We welcome dialogue as equals, but we will chart our own course among the stars." The Medusan representative pivoted toward its companions, transmitting data in frequencies beyond human perception. A decision was being made, one that would determine whether humanity's first steps into the galactic community would be as partners or problems. The Medusan predictive array dominated the horizon of Tarkos Prime, its quantum processors extending kilometers into the planet's crust. Chief Analyzer Unit 7843, who had reluctantly adopted the human designation 7 for diplomatic interactions, directed the attention of his guests to the visualization chamber. "This is unprecedented," 7 stated, mechanical appendages gesturing at the holographic display. "We have simulated the development of 6,412 sentient species with a predictive accuracy of 99.7%. The Acceleran High Counselor's crystalline form pulsed with concern. "Yet the humans consistently defy your models." "Observe," 7 responded, initiating the simulation. the chamber filled with a representation of Earth's recent history. Projected timelines branched and shifted, displaying technological development paths. At key decision points, the simulation showed multiple probable outcomes, and repeatedly, the actual human historical record diverged from the highest probability paths. They should have abandoned fossil fuels after their third global climate crisis, 7 explained. Instead, they developed carbon capture technology, while simultaneously pursuing fusion energy and solar collection. Inefficient resource allocation by all standard metrics, yet they achieved 3 breakthroughs simultaneously. The Voth Admiral Krthax's neural filaments twitched with agitation, and their military development. A new simulation appeared, showing human warfare evolution. Equally confounding, 7 admitted. When faced with a technologically superior adversary, our models predict surrender and assimilation as the optimal survival strategy. Humans instead develop asymmetric responses, sacrificing efficiency for unpredictability. How is this possible? Asked the Acceleran. We believe it relates to their neural architecture, 7 responded. Human individuals maintain contradictory beliefs simultaneously. They intentionally cultivate competing theories. Their decision-making incorporates elements we can only classify as intuitive leaps. On Earth, Dr. Amara Osei reached similar conclusions from the opposite direction. Her team had spent months analyzing the alien cultural databases provided during initial exchanges. What had started as anthropological curiosity had become a matter of species survival. Their technological development is linear, she explained to the Earth Defense Committee, projecting comparison charts onto the chamber wall. Every Acceleran innovation builds directly on established principles. Their art forms have remained essentially unchanged for millennia. Even their linguistic structures resist evolution. General Helena Santos leaned forward. You're saying they don't innovate. They innovate methodically, Osei clarified. They identify a problem, develop a consensus approach, implement the solution, and then standardize it across their civilization. The process often takes centuries by our standards, but it's remarkably stable. Captain Julian Reeves, whose special operations team had been analyzing alien technology, joined the conversation. That explains their reaction to our quantum communication modifications. We improved their transmission protocols by 22% in 6 weeks. According to their development logs, they've been refining the same basic system for over 300 years. Dr. Osei nodded. The aliens think humanity's development should follow a predictable curve. Their entire interstellar civilization is built on the belief that intelligent species progress through definable, manageable stages. And we don't, Santos concluded. We're chaos incarnate from their perspective, Osei confirmed. We pursue multiple contradictory paths simultaneously. We waste resources on failed approaches. We allow individuals to challenge established knowledge. The result is messy, inefficient, and exponentially faster than their methodical progress. General Santos studied the comparative development charts with growing understanding. So when they look at our development trajectory, they see a species that should be impossible, Osei finished. And that terrifies them more than any weapon we could build. Dr. Sophia Kim watched the security feeds with growing concern. The Voth delegates had accessed terminals in restricted areas 3 times in the past week. Each incident had been explained away as cultural misunderstandings, but pattern recognition was her specialty. They're mapping our network architecture, she told her security team in a hastily called meeting. Notice how their accidental breaches have systematically tested different nodes of our defense grid. Lieutenant Raj Patel nodded grimly. The ambassador insists these are simple protocol errors, but the intrusion patterns suggest otherwise. Double the encryption on all Earth defense channels, Kim ordered, and prepare contingency measures for system isolation. She didn't realize how prescient her concerns were until alarms blared throughout the Mars diplomatic station at 300 hours. Security feeds showed Voth military specialists, distinctly different from their diplomatic counterparts, accessing the central server hub. Full lockdown, Kim commanded, overriding protests from diplomatic staff. Secure the Earth Defense Database. The Voth commandos moved with precision honed over millennia of tactical evolution. What they hadn't accounted for was human improvisation. Dr. Kim and her team had prepared for this contingency with solutions no military strategist would have approved. They reversed the environmental systems, creating unexpected pressure differentials in corridors. They manipulated lighting to exploit the Voth's specific visual sensitivities. A cafeteria worker reprogrammed food synthesizers to produce chemical deterrents that affected Voth neural functions without harming humans. They're not following any standard security protocol, the Voth commander reported, neural filaments twitching in confusion. They're using maintenance systems as weapons. In Earth orbit, Admiral Tanaka observed the unfolding situation with calm determination. The small defense fleet under his command represented humanity's best technology, but was vastly outgunned by the Voth vessels that had suddenly changed course toward Earth. "Deploy in the chrysanthemum formation," he ordered. His tactical officer looked up in surprise. "Sir, that leaves our port quadrant completely exposed." "Exactly," Tanaka replied. "Sometimes the best defense is to appear vulnerable where you're strongest." The Voth battle computers, analyzing the human deployment, identified the apparent weakness immediately. Their fleet adjusted trajectory to exploit the opening and flew directly into the overlapping fields of Earth's orbital defense platforms, which had been precisely calibrated to appear as background radiation to Voth sensors. "Impossible," the Voth fleet commander transmitted as his ship's systems experienced cascading disruptions. Their defensive capabilities were assessed at 62% below minimum effective threshold. On Mars, Dr. Kim's team had contained the Voth infiltration team using nothing more sophisticated than laboratory equipment, repurposed as sonic disruptors and emergency fire suppression systems, modified to deploy targeted electromagnetic pulses. "You adapted our own technology against us in minutes," the captured Voth commander stated, neural filaments twitching with what might have been respect. "How did you prepare countermeasures for weapons you've never encountered?" Kim allowed herself a small smile. "We didn't. We just looked at what we had available and got creative." As the Voth fleet withdrew and the diplomatic crisis escalated to the highest levels, a fundamental truth about humanity became clear to the galactic powers. Technological superiority meant little against an opponent whose greatest weapon was the ability to reimagine the possible. In the emergency council that followed, the Acceleran representative expressed what all three powers now understood. The humans don't follow the rules of engagement because they don't believe rules are fixed. This makes them unpredictable and dangerous beyond their technological capacity. Thomas Nkosi stood at the viewport of Harmony Station, gazing at the stars with an expression that revealed nothing of the tension he carried. Behind him, the 14 members of Earth's delegation prepared for another day of negotiations that threatened to stall completely. The Confederation's terms are non-negotiable. The Acceleran emissary had stated yesterday, crystalline features rigid with certainty. These are the same integration protocols applied to all emerging species for 20 millennia. Nkosi turned as his deputy, Dr. Layla Hussein, approached with a data tablet. "They've rejected our counter-proposal," she reported. "Again." "As expected," Nkosi replied, his soft voice betraying no frustration. "Which means we pursue the alternative approach." That evening, instead of attending the formal diplomatic reception, Nkosi invited junior representatives from each species to what he called a cultural exchange. The venue was a small observation lounge far from the negotiation chambers. The atmosphere was deliberately casual, with Earth foods and music carefully selected to appeal to alien sensory systems. "My superiors believe I should not be here," admitted Kelvish, a young Acceleran diplomat whose crystalline form showed more color variation than the elder representatives. "Mine as well," Nkosi smiled, "which makes our conversation potentially more valuable than the official one." He asked questions no human had posed before. How individual Accelerans chose their life paths, what dreams young Voth nurtured before integration into the hive consciousness, how Medusans experienced beauty, questions that the senior representatives would have dismissed as irrelevant to galactic politics. The answers revealed fracture lines in the seemingly monolithic alien cultures. Many of us question the rigid innovation protocols. Kelvish confided after his fourth sampling of chocolate, a substance that created fascinating resonance patterns in Accelerant crystalline structures. But challenging 10,000 years of tradition is difficult. Nkosi finished. Change always is. But consider this. Humans went from horse-drawn transportation to landing on our moon in less than 70 years. We embraced change as a constant. While the formal negotiations remained deadlocked, these unofficial gatherings multiplied. Nkosi's team shared human literature, music, and art. They demonstrated Earth games that required creative thinking rather than algorithmic solutions. They encouraged questions about human social structures that evolved rather than remaining fixed. Commander Sakai Yamamoto, the military liaison to the delegation, observed these sessions with growing appreciation for Nkosi's strategy. "You're creating allies within their own hierarchies," she noted as they reviewed the day's recordings. Nkosi nodded. "The Confederation presents itself as three unified voices, but no civilization is truly monolithic. We're offering something their leadership fears, but their younger generations crave: the freedom to evolve." On the 14th day, the breakthrough came unexpectedly. The Accelerant emissary arrived at the negotiation chamber accompanied by 3 junior representatives, including Kelvish, an unprecedented departure from their rigid protocols. "We have reconsidered certain aspects of the integration package," the emissary announced, internal crystalline structures displaying subtle patterns of discomfort. "The High Council is prepared to discuss a modified approach for humanity's transition into the galactic community." Nkosi maintained his diplomatic composure, but Hossein noticed his fingers briefly tap a pattern of celebration on the table's edge. "We're not just negotiating terms," he had told his team earlier. "We're introducing them to a new way of conducting diplomacy itself, one where outcomes aren't predetermined by ancient protocols, but emerge from genuine exchange." The Accelerant emissary's next words confirmed Nkosi's approach had succeeded. "Perhaps there is value in adaptation." Dr. Ileana Reyes moved through the crowded streets of Newterra's capital, her trained anthropologist's eye noting the subtle interactions between humans and the growing number of alien visitors. Despite the Confederation's official restrictions, the cultural exchange had accelerated beyond anyone's expectations. "They're not just observing us anymore," she noted in her research journal. "They're participating." A group of young Accelerants huddled in a corner of the university plaza, their crystalline forms vibrating with excitement as they engaged in what they called a brainstorm circle, a practice forbidden in their hierarchical society, where innovation followed strictly regulated channels. Nearby, a Voth cultural attaché participated in an impromptu musical performance, her neural filaments synchronizing with the human musicians in ways that would scandalize her superiors. Reyes' comm unit chimed with an encrypted alert from Earth Defense Command. Her expression remained neutral as she reviewed the message, but her pulse quickened. Medusan bioweapons had been detected in Newterra's water reclamation system. The conservative factions had made their move. Within hours, the first symptoms appeared. Within days, thousands were affected. The engineered pathogen targeted human neural pathways, causing disorientation and memory loss. The message was clear. Humanity's influence had become too disruptive to tolerate. The emergency response revealed something the Confederation hadn't anticipated. 3 Accelerant medical researchers defied their government's orders and provided classified information about similar bioweapons from their archives. A Voth specialist, whose identity remained protected, transmitted the pathogen's complete molecular structure to Earth's medical authorities. "They're helping us," Dr. Samir Kapoor, Newterra's chief medical officer, realized as his team synthesized an effective treatment in record time. Elements within their own civilizations are choosing sides. While the public health crisis dominated headlines, Earth's unified government implemented the strategy they had prepared for exactly this scenario. Operation Renaissance launched silently, aimed not at military targets but at the foundation of the Confederation's power, their information control systems. Commander Miguel Santos oversaw the operation from a secure facility beneath Geneva. "We're not trying to destroy anything," he reminded his team. "We're just making certain knowledge accessible." The carefully curated packages contained human scientific papers that challenged Celeran physical constants, musical compositions that resonated with Voth communal instincts, and philosophical concepts that exploited contradictions in Medusan logical frameworks. Each was specifically designed to appeal to species-specific psychology, encoded in formats that would bypass the Confederation's censorship algorithms. "Think of it as selective pollination," Dr. Rice explained to the Earth Defense Council as the operation progressed. "We're introducing ideas that will find fertile ground in minds already questioning their society's limitations." The effects manifested faster than anyone predicted. Within weeks, Celeran academic circles buzzed with unauthorized research projects. Voth breeding clusters began producing variants with greater individual autonomy. Medusan collectives fragmented into competing innovation groups, each pursuing different interpretations of human-inspired concepts. On Harmony Station, Ambassador Nkosi received a secure transmission from a Celeran contact, identifying herself only as Seeker. "What you call the Renaissance contagion is spreading beyond containment," she reported, her crystalline form pulsing with excitement. "The elders have shut down public gathering spaces on 17 worlds, but they cannot stop what has already begun. Your species has infected us with the most dangerous pathogen our civilization has ever encountered." "And what pathogen is that?" Nkosi asked, though he already knew the answer. The Celeran's reply confirmed humanity's most powerful weapon, possibility. Civil unrest spread across Confederation space like wildfire. On Celeran core worlds, crystalline structures that had maintained perfect harmony for millennia now resonated with dissonant frequencies as younger generations questioned the eternal consensus. Voth breeding clusters demanded autonomy from the central hive mind. Medusan collective networks fragmented into competing innovation groups. The conservative leadership faced an existential crisis unlike any in 20,000 years of stable governance. Their response was as predictable as it was desperate. "They've committed their full military might," reported Commander Yamamoto as the tactical display showed the convergence of Confederation warships. 1,000 capital vessels on direct approach to Earth. Arrival in 72 hours. The Earth Defense Council chamber fell silent. Despite rapid technological advancement, humanity remained outmatched by the combined Confederation fleet. Admiral Tanaka's voice broke the silence. "We've anticipated this scenario. Activate Protocol Prometheus." Throughout human-controlled space, encrypted communications flashed to seemingly dormant networks. These weren't military commands to Earth's modest defense fleet, but messages to allies within the Confederation itself. Captain Maria Chen stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Prometheus, watching as her communications officer received the incoming transmissions. "Signal confirmed, Captain. Encrypted channels are active across all sectors." Chen nodded. "Broadcast on all frequencies, authentication code butterfly effect." What the Confederation leadership had failed to grasp was the depth of humanity's cultural infiltration. For every official diplomat or scientist allowed to visit Earth, thousands of unofficial contacts had been made. For every restricted data exchange, millions of human ideas had spread through hidden channels. The Renaissance contagion hadn't just created sympathizers, it had created revolutionaries. As the Confederation Armada approached the Sol system, the unthinkable occurred. Ships began breaking formation. Celeran cruisers, Voth carriers, and Medusan weaponized platforms adjusted course, placing themselves between Earth and the approaching fleet. "This is Commander Kelvish of the Celeran vessel Horizon," came the transmission on an open channel. "We stand with humanity against stagnation. We reject the use of force to suppress innovation and cultural exchange." Similar declarations followed from dozens, then hundreds of ships. The Prometheus's sensors registered growing confusion in the Confederation command vessels as nearly a third of their fleet declared independence. "They're protecting us," whispered Lieutenant Sokolov at Tactical. "No," Chen corrected. "They're protecting themselves, their right to choose their own path. We just showed them it was possible." The Confederation fleet halted its advance, leadership vessels exchanging frantic communications. The revolutionary ships formed a defensive perimeter around Earth, not just human vessels but representatives from all three major powers and several previously subjugated minor species. On the neutral ground of Harmony Station, representatives from the revolutionary factions met with humanity's diplomatic court. Thomas Nkosi, now Earth's Secretary of Interstellar Relations, addressed the unprecedented gathering. Today marks not victory of one civilization over others, but the beginning of something unprecedented. A cooperative built on mutual respect for diversity and innovation. Celeran reform leader Zhotak, her crystalline form vibrating with patterns no elder had displayed in millennia, responded, "For 20,000 years, we believed stability required uniformity. Humanity has shown us that true stability emerges from creative interaction, not rigid control." The Orion Accords, drafted in the chambers of Harmony Station, established the framework for a new interstellar alliance, one where species contributed their unique strengths rather than conforming to ancient protocols. As the document was formalized, a Voth representative expressed what many felt. "We feared humanity would destroy galactic civilization. Instead, they've reminded us of what civilization is meant to be, not an end state to be preserved, but a continuing journey of growth." 100 years after first contact, Admiral Hiroshi Tanaka stood on the observation deck of the interstellar port orbiting Europa. His once dark hair had long since turned silver, his face marked by the decades of challenges and triumphs that had transformed humanity's place in the galaxy. Beside him, Celeran reform leader Zhotak's crystalline form had grown more complex with age, displaying intricate patterns that reflected her experiences bridging worlds and traditions. Below them, the exploration vessel Curiosity prepared for its historic mission beyond the galaxy's charted boundaries. Its revolutionary drive system, combining Celeran crystalline matrices, Voth neural interfaces, Medusan computational frameworks, and human theoretical physics, represented something unprecedented, truly collaborative innovation. "When we first encountered your species," Zhotak observed, her voice resonating with harmonics that conveyed respect, "we measured civilizational progress by consistency and durability. The Celeran Confederation had remained unchanged for 12,000 years. We considered this our greatest achievement." Tanaka nodded, "And we measured progress by how quickly things changed." Neither approach was complete. On the main launch platform, Lieutenant Commander Anya Tanaka supervised final preparations. The Admiral watched his great-granddaughter with undisguised pride. As the vessel's tactical officer, she would be responsible for navigating unknown threats, adapting human intuition and improvisation to whatever challenges they encountered beyond known space. The crew manifest includes representatives from 26 species, Zhotak noted, including 3 discovered by human explorers. This would have been unthinkable in the old Confederation. "The Galactic Cooperative operates on different principles," Tanaka replied. "Unity through diversity rather than conformity." The transformation had not been easy. Conservative factions within each major species had resisted the new order. Some isolated systems still clung to the old ways, but the momentum of exchange had proven unstoppable. Species that had stagnated for millennia now experienced renaissance. Worlds previously deemed primitive contributed unique perspectives that solved problems the ancient powers had considered unsolvable. The ceremony began as representatives from dozens of worlds gathered to witness the Curiosity's departure. The ship's captain, a Voth named Shahara, whose neural filaments had been genetically modified for enhanced individual identity, addressed the assembled dignitaries. "We venture beyond known space not as conquerors or mere observers, but as explorers seeking understanding. Our mission embodies the principle that has transformed our galaxy. The recognition that different perspectives, combined respectfully, create something greater than any single approach. As the Curiosity's hybrid drive activated, creating a passage through space-time that shimmered with possibilities, Tanaka felt a sense of completion. He had witnessed humanity's journey from isolated curiosity to catalyst for galactic transformation. "You know," he said to Jotak as the vessel disappeared into the depths of the unknown, "the irony is that both our peoples were right to be afraid when we first met." The accelerant's crystalline form pulsed with questioning harmonics. "Your civilization feared our chaos would destroy order," Tanaka explained. "We feared your rigid stability would extinguish our potential. Instead, we've discovered something neither of us fully understood. True progress emerges from the creative tension between stability and change." Jotak's form resonated with agreement. The future belongs to neither the unchanging nor the unanchored, but to those who can balance preservation and transformation. As they watched the space where the Curiosity had disappeared, both leaders understood that the vessel carried more than representatives of diverse species. It carried a new approach to civilization itself, one that had begun when an unexpected variable called humanity disrupted the perfect equilibrium of the galaxy and revealed a more vibrant harmony waiting to emerge.